Okay, we're going to continue. This is going to be part 2 because I got cut off on chapter 22. Frankie is trying to explain to his parents how and why he is invisible. Dad was drumming his fingers on the tabletop. I asked him 3 times to stop, but I don't think he could. Mom had gone very pale. She stared at the floating juice box. She kept wiping tears off her cheeks. I did a stupid thing. That's how I started my explanation. You see, after Mystical Marvin's magic show... Should I call 911? Dad interrupted. Do I need the police? Tell me, Frankie. What are the police going to do? Mom asked Dad. Arrest him for disappearing? Please, I said, please don't interrupt me. Okay, let me tell my story. I reached across the table and I grabbed Dad's hands to stop them from drumming. I held on to them as I told my story. Somehow I managed to get the whole story out. How I sneaked out a few teaspoons of Mystical Marvin's disappearing formula. How I planned to slip them into Ari's lemonade. How my plan was only going to make him disappear for a few moments. Maybe a few minutes at the most. They kept shaking their heads and tisking, but I forced them to be quiet and let me finish. I told them how Ari switched lemonade glasses and I became invisible. It was supposed to wear off, but it didn't, I said. I spent the night at Eduardo's house waiting for it to wear off, but here I am, still invisible. Both squinted at me in silence. And finally, Mom said, Did you miss class photo day? Donna! Dad shouted at her angrily. What's wrong with you? What do you care about class photo day? Mom shrank back in her chair. Just asking, she muttered. Dad jumped to his feet. We have to take you back to that magician, Marvelous Marv, or whatever his name is. It's Mystical Marvin, I said. He'll know how to bring you back to normal, Dad said. Come on, let's just go to the theater. I set the empty juice box down on the table. I already did that, I said. I went to see him, but he wasn't there. He disappeared too. Vanished. They had to cancel a show. Whoa. Dad let out a long breath. He shut his eyes. Let's think. Mom shook her head. She wiped more tears off her pale cheeks. Listen to me, she said. We have only one choice. Huh? One choice? I said, what's that, Mom? Uncle Siggy, she replied. Oh no, I shrieked. Oh no, please don't, Mom. Not Uncle Siggy. Chapter 23. We drove to a tall building. A sign near the entrance read University Science Lab. Just pulling into the parking lot sent chills down my back. I seriously don't want to do this, I said as we climbed the stairs to the double glass doors. Listen to me, Frankie, Mom said. If anyone will know how to reverse that formula, it's your Uncle Siggy. He's a brilliant scientist, Dad added. But he's totally weird, I exclaimed. He spent 5 years studying why slugs are slimy. Yes, he's one of the world's experts on slugs, Mom said. But he's not weird. He's eccentric. He's a brilliant scientist, Dad repeated. When he gets nervous, he repeats himself a lot. I hesitated at the entrance. You really think Siggy can bring me back to normal? He's a brilliant scientist, Dad said. He's known all over the world as a chemical genius, Mom said. He's brilliant, Dad said. Siggy is Mom's brother, and no one is ever allowed to say a bad word about him. He was waiting on us in his lab on the 3rd floor. When he saw Mom and Dad step off the elevator, he tucked his phone into the pocket of his white lab coat. Siggy is tall and a little bent over. His head kind of leans toward you all the time. He's bald except for a fringe of brown hair, and his round eyeglasses are enormous. They make his eyes appear to be bulging out of his head. He looks a little like my mom, but if she were tall and bald and wore glasses and was stooped over, that's a joke. They don't look like brother and sister. And anyway, Mom and Dad had called him, warned him about my problem. He gazed through his big glasses for a long moment, trying to figure out where I was. Then he hugged Mom and shook hands with Dad. Frankie isn't looking his best, Siggy said. That was his idea of a joke. He doesn't really have a sense of humor. I don't think I've ever seen him laugh. Frankie, did you ever see the original Invisible Man movie starring Claude Rains? Siggy asked. It was made in 1933 in black and white. I forgot to mention Siggy is a movie freak. He loves old movies like the ones he just mentioned. No, I muttered. I never saw it. This isn't a movie, Dad chimed in. It's real. You should watch it sometime, Siggy said. He pushed his glasses up on his nose. Well, let's see about solving this problem. He took out his phone and raised it in front of me and snapped a few photos of me. Then he studied the photos. Yep, he said. You're not there. That's so interesting. Can you fix him? Mom demanded in a trembling voice. Siggy, can you do anything? He patted her shoulder. I'll do my best. He motioned to me. Come back to the lab, Frankie. I want to do a bunch of tests while you tell me how this happened. So I had to tell the whole sad story all over again, and while I talked, Siggy had his assistant put me through an x-ray machine, then some other kind of scanner that took photos of my invisible insides. Then Siggy's assistant took several vials of my blood. This wasn't easy because my arm was invisible. The blood seemed to be flowing into the glass vials from nowhere, just from the air. Tell me again, Siggy said, rubbing his bald head. This magician, did he tell you anything about the formula? Did he give you any hint of what was in it? I thought hard. I pictured Mystical Marvin holding the bottle with the yellow formula inside. I tried to remember. Yes, I said finally. I think he mentioned something about animal saliva. Siggy's eyes went even wider than usual. Animal saliva? Really? I nodded. That's what he said. Okay, Frankie. Siggy tried to pat me on the back, but he missed. Let me study the test. Go back out and wait with your parents. I'll come out as soon as I have an idea. I slumped back out into the waiting room. Mom jumped up. She had her hands clasped tensely in front of her. So, what did Siggy say? Dad looked up from his phone. Can he bring you back? He took a lot of tests, I said. He's studying them. He said he'd come out when he has an idea. So he didn't say he could do it? Mom's voice was as shrill as a whistle. He's looking at the test, I said. We have to wait. So we waited, mostly in silence. Mom paced back and forth, her hands wrapped in front of her. Dad pretended to read on his phone, but I could tell he wasn't concentrating on anything. I shut my eyes and I tried to make my mind blank. I didn't want to think about my problem. I didn't want to think about anything. I must have dozed off because when I opened my eyes, Uncle Siggy was standing in front of us, gazing at a clipboard in his hand. Mom and Dad huddled in front of him. Dad put his arm around Mom's shoulders. So, Mom murmured, so, Siggy? I think I know how to bring Frankie back, Siggy said. Both my parents let out long sighs. I studied the test, Siggy said. I think I could break down the invisibility molecules. How? I asked. Break down the molecules? Using what? Acid, Siggy said. Will this work? Did Siggy find the solution? We're very close to the end. So you'll have to join me next time for the final part of Slappy's World, The Revenge of the Invisible Boy.